Hello and welcome. You're watching Greenwich Live Sessions. This is your host Umar Khan, and I'm back with another show, another guest. And let me introduce my guest for today. He is the founder of Fuel Your Business. He received the Man of the Year in 2019 in Business and Social Enterprise. He has won several awards for his public speaking skills. He's also the international mentor at Mentor X. In fact, that's not all. He's also a licensed meta coach and he's a meta NLP practitioner as well. With a very warm welcome, Mr. Atish Bagolah. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Mary. Thank you for such an introduction. It looks good when you read it, but when you say it seems very long.
Absolutely, you totally deserve it for all the wonderful things you've been doing over the years. And they say that hard work doesn't go to waste. So naturally, the things we've been doing for over the years, and now people are benefiting from the wonderful things you're doing. Especially being a life coach, being a public speaker, a motivational speaker. You change lives every day. So that's an additional add-on. When you can do such great things.
I mean, yeah, definitely. By God's grace, I can say that God has blessed me blissfully with so many things, so many warm blessings from so many people. And, I like saying one thing, it always starts with one conversation at a time, and the world gets changed one person at a time. Uh, so, yeah, it's a real blessing to be around here and to be on this planet and to be enjoying every moment of my life, be it good or bad. I just take it bad. The world is a show. We have to play the actor.
Absolutely, very well said. And that's the whole thing about life. You have to stay positive no matter what comes towards you. Talking about the positivity thing, we all know we're stuck in this COVID-19 situation. How is everything at your end in Mauritius?
Well, so far, we've got we've got exactly 332 cases of COVID. And so far, inshallah, thanks to God's blessing, we have no further cases. And I believe we are taking all the necessary sanitation, hygiene precautions. And slowly but surely, the world is starting here in Mauritius, and work has started. Things are getting almost back to normal. But yes, normal is something else. The new normal is again something else.
Absolutely, very rightly said. The new normal is something else. So, how has this whole time in this COVID situation changed you, or how have you been spending your time? How is life and work affected?
Well, to be honest, it hasn't really affected me as a person, but it affected a portion of my mind, a portion of maybe of my soul, if I can put it that way. Because being a public speaker, I'm used to being with people, and now I'm getting used to being with technology, to people. So basically, it's a drastic change, if I call it that way. But as a person, I'm still the same. Uh, but maybe a few of my qualities have changed. I'm more IT conversant nowadays. Wow, I never knew I could be that IT conversant before that. And I had to grow a few of my skills as well, to be honest with you. So aside from technology, but the pace of my speaking, being in front of people, and then being alive on a screen. I'm so used to speaking to real live people in front of me. The flesh and the blood. But now it's like hard screen. But I'm just making with it. I have to. So, in any case, I have so many people around me whose life have changed. In fact, a few of my uh, ex colleagues, I would put it that way, who used to work in a firm, some of them had to accept the fact that they had to reduce their salary. Why? Because if they have to stay alive and survive and get inside the survival mode consistently, they will have to change with time. And change is such a drastic stuff, it's such a thing in itself. But yeah, politically, many things have changed as well. Tourism has gone down. Obviously, it's throughout the world. And But I'm very glad when I'm going throughout the city this past week. as many people are actually giving food for free. An
Yes.
act, a charitable act that I wasn't used to see in a city. And now people are moving around in vans and vehicles around and giving food. Wow. A bread a day saves a lives a day. Wow, it's beautiful.
Indeed, it is beautiful, and we've seen around the globe that whenever some difficult times occur, the whole humanity comes together, no matter what religion they're from, what country they belong to, what color they have. They all come together, and that's the most beautiful thing about humanity. That when difficult times comes, they all stand together, and that's like the most beautiful sign of them all. You mentioned the change, so definitely this new normal, as you mentioned, will require a lot of adaptation. The trends of working, the trends of business, the strategies of organizations, everything going to change a lot when the new normal will come. So, how do you look at it?
Well, that's one of the actually beautiful question, Umer. Thank you for that. Uh, One of the things, and this is why actually last week I created something on Facebook called. I just created a page for it, but the idea was always there. Doing it through my own workshops and seminars. It's about fuel your business. Now, be it a big dog organization, I'm not paid to really advertise big companies, but Google, Facebook, StreamYard, Zoom, all these big uh, fat organizations now are turning really to some hardcore reality, and that reality is being human through a screen. And this is something that we've seen throughout the course of time. People saw advertising promotions through videos, live shows and so on, but really talking to people, speaking to people using words and images, we call that the visual and the auditory are being used much more. uh, However, I think that one of the things that we will have to do is to be not comfortable, but to get a little more comfortable in our uncomfortable zone. So I would say that before this COVID pandemic, humanity in general, we were in some sort of, I would say, comfortable zone. We know we had to go to work. We know we had, like, for example, kids, they knew they had to revise, and private tuitions were there, public school, private schools were there, university were there, life to life interaction. But now the whole scenario changed. We in fact talking about a massive change, a change which I call abysmal change, from in person to on screen. And I think that's the kind of change we're now talking about. It's a huge scale, Umir, to be in IT interactions.
Absolutely, it is. But then again, I always mention this thing that around the globe, when we look at the large level, especially in the developing countries, even in Mauritius, not everyone is not comfortable with these platforms. Everyone is not ready to cope up and adapt to this IT things. Talking about the people who don't have the resources, people who are not that privileged, people from the rural areas, the workers on the daily wages, they have the issues, adapting to this online. So when you talk about people who are educated and who have the platforms, who can easily adapt, it's good for them. But we have to carry the people who actually needs to be carried right now, because they don't even have an opportunity to use these IT-based things. So as people and as a trainer, of course, what would you suggest? How can we as humanity, as a group, as people, carry them together with us during these testing times?
Well, again, I think today we are in such an era, at a point in our time, that I believe that every person, at least I'm talking about here in Mauritius, they have a smartphone. Maybe our old aged people who are above 60, 65, in villages here in Mauritius, they might be having some real troubles now, because during confinement they were not able to get out to move around. And when you come at a certain age in your life, mobility is such a problem. You want your heart to beat, you want your blood to be pumped inside your body. Okay, you might be doing some household chores, but it's not the same as going out, maybe paying your bills for electricity, for water. So for them, definitely,
Right.
talking with a family has been, I think, one of the best things that happened to them. Why go far? Take my example at my home itself, my mom. I mean, I go out from the house at 7 a.m. in the morning time. I go to work, and then I'd return home, obviously around 6 p.m., 7 p.m., sometimes 8. My interaction with my own mom, who is above 65, has increased so much within this pandemic lockdown period. uh, I'm having to, I like really having a food back again in my mouth. And I go back to my younger days. I'm not saying I'm old, but I go back to my younger days when I taste the salt, I taste the sweetness, I taste the spicy thing that she does. And I think one of the things that has happened really, really good, we say a coin has two sides. The bad side, we are seeing it already in the world right now. People are not there. So many people uh, have gone, have passed away because of this virus. But look at the other side. People like me, who, inshallah, we are getting blessed by our parents, spending time with them. You know, before the door of life closed on them, at least I'm accompanying them, at least her. And I would wish all the people do that. You know, I was having a
Very
chat
true.
with one of my friends, and he has two kids. And he was saying to me the other day that, you know what, Hatish, most of the days I go to work, and then my wife is at home with the kids, and both kids will actually watch TV almost whole day, and then they do their homeworks or go to school, back again TV. And most of the times they watch the French channel. So actually, in Mauritius, a
Right.
lot of people speak in French, English as well, not so much, but then our local language. But French is very, very common. So the other
Right.
day he was home during the confinement that happened just 2 weeks back, or maybe last week, and his son, 8 years old, told him, "Dad, so why are we seeing the Meteo for Mauritius? Why are we not seeing the Meteo for France?" So my friend, his dad said, "Well, son, we are in Mauritius. We are just looking at the meteo, the service. How is it going to be, the weather?" The son just replied,
Right.
"Dad, but are we not in France?" So an 8-year-old kid watching TV whole day, the French channel, thinking the entire life till he's 8 years, he's in France. And even when he goes out, he still thinks he's in France. Wow, what a discovery. I never heard of such kind of story. And it's a story worth sharing, that kids, even if they're at home,
Right.
through TV, they are learning so many things as well. It's not that they're just glued to the TV, but they're also learning things. They know what is happening around the world as well. So yeah, the question is about adaptation, I think, at the end of the day. And that is something that's uh, we have a long way to talk about adaptation, Umir.
Absolutely, and I totally agree to this. That in fact, the youngsters these days, everyone who's getting born after the 2010s in this technology era, they're very bright and they're very sharp. Now, the attention span and the things that they're adapting and they're absorbing at their early age, from by the time they're born to the age of 5, they have the capability to do wonders. So that is the time, you of course being a trainer as well, whatever they learn, whatever they see, whatever they experience, builds their personality there and then, builds their confidence there and then. So it's very important and essential for even the parents to give them that freedom, to give them that space where they can explore themselves and where they can move on to, be something that they really want to, rather than forcing them to do things that they want them to do. So that's also very essential.
Exactly, that's
What
part
would you
of the
like?
very correctly, Umir. That's also an integral part of the personality as well. So we say that from the age of 0 to 3 years old, that's the maximum amount of neuroplasticity, which is the pathway that the mind, that the neurons, the nerve cells in the mind, in the brain, functions very well. That's a lot of memory cells getting introduced in the head of the kid. And as they move on, um, uh, as a meta coach, we say that they are experiencing the world, they're experiencing the territory. Because you see, the map is not the territory. So the map that you and I, we both have, are so different. So my map is a territory for you, and vice versa. So I believe that as a trainer, the one thing that has to happen really now is the relationship that parents have with their kids, to define that relationship very, very clearly. And it is now time than ever to really go and start narrating stories, beautiful stories, folkloric stories, stories that the kids can listen not just before bed or during bedtime, but stories where they can learn about, okay, how our ancestors used to live, how ancestors used to, in a way of saying, breathe, what were the activities, and that life should not be taken so at ease. We have to show that kind of gratitude, teach them humility at the end of the day as well, on the personality trait that, yes, Umar, you're talking about.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, there's one thing that we notice a lot in the world, especially amongst the youth. We're noticing that there's a lot of depression. There's a lot of frustration in the youth around the globe, not just one country. Young people, at the age of 12, 13, 14, they are diagnosed with depression. There's less clarity of mind. They're very confused. They're very scared of their future. What has caused this amongst the youth around the globe over the years? What is that thing, and how can we overcome it? Because if our youth is affected, our future generations are affected.
Very correctly said. Uh, One youth affected is a whole generation affected. Well, let's get back to this question about youth. Uh, when we talk about youth, we are talking actually just this, we call that this barrier between very young as a kid to getting slowly into becoming an adolescent, to slowly becoming 18 years old, a very young adult, and then to really becoming the adult and then the old adult, if I can use that word. Okay, so what's happening to our kids nowadays?
Right.
Think clearly. In days gone by, I would say in my days, when I was a kid, I used to play with the soil. I used to feel and smell the soil. And there was no problem if I didn't put my slippers on. I would still walk. Yes, my mom would maybe come and tell me, be careful, you might get worms. But guess what? It built my immunity. Let me talk about immunity now. One of the biggest problems kids are having is they all almost have bottled water. It's like they have sanitized their digestive system, if I can put it that way. Whereas in my days, we used to really go towards tap water. At least in Mauritius, you can have your tap water without any problem. So you can either boil it when the weather is bad, or you can just have a bottled water. But most of the times, we have tap water. So we have a very strong immune system here. And basically, here in Mauritius, I'm talking about Mauritius principally because I live here, I understand the system a little bit more. So we have like
Right.
two seasons, winter, summer, nothing more complicated than that. So our body, our human body has adapted to these seasons. But as kids, we see that parents now have to work more. We see that suddenly parents have started realizing that financial literacy is a big problem in this country, or maybe around the world as well. It's a big problem. So, because financial literacy is a big problem, parents find the necessity to go out and work. And what we mean by work is offering a service to a company, meaning that you have to spend time away from home, spend time away from kids. So, let's look at kids now. Kids stay at home, go to school. I think the closest they get to are their friends at school, and they might also consider their teachers as parents in some sort, authoritative parents teaching them something.
I
So, as
agree.
it is, I'm not saying parents are not doing their job. In fact, they are accomplishing a part of their duty to grow up the kid. But there's
Absolutely.
more than that. There's more than
Mhm.
that. For example, spending quality time. So, let me explain quality time
Right.
now.
Yeah.
One example of quality time is telling stories to kids about how they, the parents, used to spend their childhood, how they used to respect their mom and dad, their grannies, their forefathers, their grandparents, and ask the kid through the story, you know what, you could be doing better than me. I was a bit more naughty than you, but you could be less naughty than me. Now, this is a beautiful anecdote if you can teach kid this. Number two, we see that nowadays the world seems like in a rat race. Wow. Maybe not even rat race, it's a jet race. So in my days
Yes.
it was called rat race, but now I think it's much more jet race. So there's now I think every kid nowadays, the modern kids, urban kids, I would call it that way. Even in rural areas, kids have a mobile phone. Why? Looks like it's a substitute for a parent. Looks like it's a substitute for a grandma. Looks like it's a substitute for reading. They put their mobile phones everywhere. They think taking pictures of themselves will prove the worthiness of themselves. And I'm actually here talking about those young girls, about 15, 16 years old, trying to find their identity. And that's a big problem. Talking about girls, Amir,
Right.
how many countries do not still allow girls to voice out? I mean, uh, what I like is that in some Bollywood and Hollywood movies, at least we're teaching that our ladies, our future generation, the forebearers of humanity, do have and certainly needs to have their chance to speak, to voice out. It's not only for boys to voice out. Genetically,
True.
boys are much more aggressive by nature. It's very normal because we've got the genes of a caveman and we had to protect ourselves. We had to go in that fight and fight, fear zone, run away or run after animals, things like that, or danger. So, but women used to stay at home, fending for their kids, giving them milk they need, giving the warmth of their arms around the kid. And uh, I think that's one of the reasons why the female generation, the female species that we have, whom we have to respect so much, they need to have a platform to actually say much more about themselves, about how they feel, and so on. So kids nowadays lack this kind of funding, certainly.
Totally agree. Totally
Other
agree.
thing I would other thing I would say, Umer, is because of this jet race or rat race, there is a tendency that parents in general, they feel that if the kid doesn't pass the exam, then their self-worth gets diminished, their self-esteem get diminished. And most parents then add this sort of pressure to say that, my kid is not doing brightly at school. But one thing we have to know that Albert Einstein failed his sixth grade two times. And
True.
potential is something else, learning is something else as well, and implementation of learning is something else.
I totally agree.
Last word on that, Umer, is entertainment, I would say. How are kids now entertained? As human beings, we need to be entertained by something or by an event, by anything. So kids nowadays, because they have the easy way to go inside their mobile phones, chat to their friends, it has become the newest form of entertainment. Now, with COVID, that could be the potential, I could say, danger now, because this is going to magnify a lot now. Earlier, they used to go to school, but now they are glued to the screen. Now it's the friends who've become families. It's the friends who've become the co-host of their life. So we have to be careful about that, and that's why I would say we need to take this pandemic in the most beautiful way. Obviously, by not forgetting that it's a pandemic as well.
Right. So very beautifully explained and with a lot of details. I'll just summarize this, and what I think about it is starting from point one, that I totally agree with the fact that because of this jet race, the family time has been reduced. You're so much busy in your daily life trying to meet your ends that you forget to live that little things in life. Spending time with family, having dinner together, talking it out how you spent your day. or how was your day. So that family time matters a lot. That The second thing that you mentioned is, be connected to your roots. That if you're connected to your roots, if you know what your ancestors, how your ancestors have spent their time, how they built whatever they built, what were their struggles, so you'll have the sense of realization. That again, beautifully quoted. And once again, that in this generation, things are very easy for the youngsters. So if they, connecting it to the previous point, they have the realization and the actual worth of how things are done or how things are made. I think that would create more awareness and realization in this youngsters. So very rightly said. We'll include some messages now, and we have the first message is from our honorable chancellor, Madam Seema Mughal is here. Welcome, ma'am. And she says, Atish, looking forward that you take communication skills of our students in Pakistan as well.
Seema, ma'am, thank you so much for getting here and listening to us. Really, you can count me in anytime. When it comes to education, anywhere in the world, you'll tell me. That would be a very, very warm pleasure to be. Yeah.
I'll include some more messages. We have with us Mr. Imadul Kareem. He's also a brilliant teacher at Greenwich University Karachi campus. We have with us Tariq Iqbal. He is with us. We have with us Manur Faruqi. She says, yes, immunity is built by exposing them to the environment and building immunity to fight with the bacteria. The point you were quoting earlier. We have with us
Yeah.
our student provost, Mr. Naveed Mughal, and he says, always a pleasure to listen to you, Atish. I totally agree to that.
Thank you, Naveen. Always a pleasure to see you as well and speak to you as well at a point in time, definitely.
We
Oh,
have with
Mr. Rob.
Rab Nawaz, and we all love Rab Nawaz. He says, one of the best faculty member of Greenwich University, Pakistan, Mauritius branch campus. And I totally
Hey,
agree with that.
I think Mr. Rub is a work alcoholic. He never lets anything down. I don't even know if his agenda is, if there is something in his agenda, on his agenda, which hasn't been done. He's a super jet.
Indeed, he is. In my previous program, we were talking about it that at one position there are five people, and at one place there's Mr. Rab Nawaz. And every time Rab Nawaz, he'll outplay those five people when it comes to working. He's such a workaholic and wonderful gentleman. So, moving on with our conversation, we mentioned the roots, we mentioned the family time. Now, I'll take that personal example. I'll share a personal example of mine. Like, I was really close to my father, and we were so close, and we talked so much about his life, how he spent his life, the exact thing that you were talking about, that I actually relived his childhood, his early ages, his life. So I actually felt like I was there with him. I'm more realizing, and I have got more sense of responsibility. I'm more confident. I'm more realizing, and I have got more sense of responsibility. All because I was really close to my parents. I spent a lot of time with my parents. So I totally agree with the fact that the gap that we are facing in these days, these jet race days, that the parents are unable, though they want to, but they're unable to spend that quality time when required. And by the time the parents get old and they want to build that connection, the gap is too much to be covered. So we need to fix this thing before it gets, gets the space bigger.
Yes, this is one of the phenomenon that we call the generation gap, and well, we want it, we don't want it. In my opinion, I think generation gap is in our mind, in our parents' mind. Now, I would wish I become parent soon, but because I'm not yet. But there's one thing: I still have my parent, and I have to be honest that sometimes, and we have to be human as well. At the end of the day, that sometimes, as a young person, you are trying to find your happiness score in the span of time, and then you're looking to make a name for yourself, you're looking to make a life for yourself, and you're really using your survival genes almost every day to do something around you and for you, hopefully for others as well. So what happens in this time is my mom, for example, is at home. Now, when I come back, and for example, on a weekend, I'm trying to have a conversation with her because our parents nowadays, imagine our 60, 70 year old parents, or even grandmoms, granddads. I mean, not all of them are like that, but some or many of our parents, we do have some sort of, I would say, territorial differences. Now, I'm very, very clear here. It's territorial differences. I think as young people, there is one thing that we will need to understand, and this is a presupposition that I would like to infuse in the mind of as many young people as possible, that the map is not the territory, that the map is not the territory. Our experience is our own visual that we live, is our own auditory that we hear, is our own kinesthetic that we feel. So our life has its own experience, has its own feelings. We have our own thoughts that we've built around our set of beliefs around ourselves. Now, the same is for our parents. They have their own experience, their own feelings, their own kinesthetics, their own thoughts, their own set of expectations. So when we go this generation to that generation, there is that gap. Now, because we know that there is that gap as young people, there is one thing that we will need to start doing as young people as well, to have a word called acceptance. Can we
True.
accept that there is a difference? Can we have the courage to accept that they are the ones who raised us, who bred us, who made us however we are right now, that we are
True.
safe, we are in true
Very true.
health, all because of their efforts? So, if we have that dose of acceptance, the whole story changes now. The gap starts to get filled by acceptance. Now,
True.
another word for acceptance in my mind is tolerance. Can
Mm.
I tolerate someone else? Now, that someone else, what picture that someone else holds in the movie of my mind? So, what film am I playing?
Right.
What reel am I playing in my mind about the other person? And whatever that reel, the end result is positive, negative, even if it's negative, well, can I tolerate that? Because the map is not the territory. And if I walk my life with the level of acceptance that, hey, this is another human being who raised me, the picture changes. But let's get back to your question now. This is one side of the story. The other side of the story, if parents could understand that they have got kids who are now grown up or growing up. Now, growing up is a big, huge process. If parents start to think that, okay, my kid has grown up now, they need to show responsibility. Ah, what a word. Responsibility. For me, it would mean the ability to respond. That is responsibility. So they know their
Right.
kids can now have the ability to respond to the pressures of the world. They will need to know that they also need to give time and space for that kid to get used to that world that they never
Right.
went through,
Exactly.
because this world is a changing world almost every day. So I hope I was around that concept.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And this actually applies the adaptability thing we were talking about, that the world is changing so rapidly that even the parents have to adapt and understand to the things. But at the same time, I would add on to the point that even the children, they have to realize, they have to respect. For example, if when I was born and I was an infant, I was helpless. I couldn't even move. I couldn't even eat. I could not even speak, right? So if I'm here today in a position, that is all because of my parents, and no matter what I do in life, I can never repay them back. And that goes to anywhere around the globe. How a person starts walking by holding the finger of their parent, their dad, their mother, how the mother cares for a little child. Like, that is so beautiful and that is so amazing that even if we spend our whole lives, we can never repay back for that little favor. But what we can do, that if we're lucky enough to serve them back when they get to their old ages, I think we can never repay them, not even 1%. But at least we can have that sense of realization when you said tolerance. So we've seen so many old age homes now. We've seen so many cases where as soon as the parents get old, the youngsters, the children, they take them as liability. What if the parents call the little child a liability and never let them grow? So we have to
Mm.
pay back. We have to have that realization. The respect, the understanding should be mutual. And that's how we can reduce this gap and build our relationships in a much stronger and better way. That's what I personally believe. What would you say on that?
Well, I've got a beautiful story about when you say this old age homes. So there was this man who was a well-known personality in the world, and he used to receive a lot of letters from different companies. Okay, there were some sort of launchings to be done, so he would used to come and cut the ribbons because he was such a big personality, and people used to respect him. Now, one day he was at home, and during his breakfast, he was opening a letter that he received on the eve. Now, as he opened the letter, he read the few words. He read it, took a blank page, and started writing. He wrote a letter and sent it back to the old age home. So, actually, an old age home sent a letter to the person saying, we would like you to come for the inauguration of our facility. We call that geriatric facility. So the person now wrote back a letter as reply, and when the manager of that geriatric facility, old age home facility, read the letter was like this: the day you close the home, that day I will come personally to do the launching and cut the ribbon back.
Wow,
So,
that is
so if I continue, I would say that what the person said in very simple layman's language, the person replied to say, you know what, don't invite me for the day you're opening an old age home to cut the ribbon. Invite me the day you close it, I'll come and cut the ribbon. So I think I would do the same thing because I know the story now. Uh, yeah, this is another story by itself. We can never repay that. I also believe that just like we have breath in our nose, just like we have heartbeats in our heart, just like we have blood in our veins and capillaries and arteries, we also need to have that genuine feeling of gratitude with us as we move in our life, be it in front of our parents, be it with our partners in life, be it with our siblings that we have, friends that we consider friends, even our enemies if we think we have enemies. Because you know, we never have an enemy. It doesn't exist, it's just in your mind. Actually, who is an enemy, if you can have a chat about that very quickly, is just a person whom you do not have the belief that that person has the capacity or capability to be in the subset of friend. Means that you've closed the door and characteristic for the friends. So you have an avatar for friends. But that's not true. Anybody can be your friend, even if those whom you do not like, or you don't like one thing about that person and you say, okay, that person is my enemy. It's so wrong. You just mentioned something a moment, a few moments ago, Umir, that with COVID-19 now, with this global pandemic, I think, and everybody would say that humanity has become humanity.
true.
So the one has learned the oneness in itself.
Absolutely.
So,
And you
yeah.
mentioned gratitude because since we're talking about understanding people and all the relationships, it's not just limited to parents and children. We have relationships everywhere between co-workers, between friends, between partners, between colleagues, and everywhere, even amongst the students. So what we need to understand and realize that this very strong word called hate, you know, and how easily we use this word, that we hate this, we don't like this, we don't like that. It takes a lot of heart to use this word hate and actually apply it on something. This world is full of acceptance, as we were just talking about. If we just accept things the way they are, if we just try to understand the other person, walking into their shoes and trying to understand them, why they are reacting, why are they aggressive, or why are they upset, I think we will never react back. Our tolerance level will increase. And this is something that we all need to do. The reasons we do these kind of sessions is to spread the awareness. The reason we talk about these topics, because we need people to talk about these things. Because the biggest problem in the relations these days, people don't talk, they assume. They put their feelings into social media statuses rather than calling up the person and clearing it out. So what we need to do, as you said, we need to talk it out. We need to express our feelings. We need to show we care while we are alive. No use of putting flowers or giving gifts to the family of the person who passed away. Do it when they're alive. So this is something very important that we need to realize.
Yeah, very correct, Umer. Again, I have actually three things in my mind as you spoke, and I'll just get them one by one. Number one is trying. What a word! I honestly would like to meet the person who invented the word to try. Uh, Literally, it means to make an effort. Okay, but most people we use the word to try. Now, here is one beautiful thing: no one can do by trying. You can only try. For instance, everyone who's listening to this show right now, and even you, Mir, try to look at the back. It will never
Right.
happen. Because I'm not saying look at the back, it's a direct command. Look at the back versus try to look at the back. Because by trying, you will just keep trying. You will be forced, but then you won't look at the back. So you just have to go on a directive command, look at the back. Okay, I'm trying to do my homework, mom. Don't try, my son, do it. I'm trying to work hard in life, and I'm trying everything in my life. Well, don't try, my boy or my girl. Please do it. I'm trying to build an empire in my business. I'm trying to put my business alive. Don't try, do it. So that's the thing about from
Right.
trying to doing. And this is something that we call from the knowing to doing gap. So, in whatever context we apply it, we have to do. Now, the second thing
Right.
that, yes, I heard you saying the word hate or any such words like that. You know, there's something that I personally say, and it is something that comes directly from me. Why react when you should not even act? So most people will react to
True.
circumstances. We react to situations, to people, to things around us. We react to ourselves actually. But then why react when you shouldn't even act, but just absorb whatever's coming to you and feel free in the abundance of life. Just accept that we are just one with oneness. There's nothing more different from me or she. Uh, whatever the eye sees doesn't mean that it's different. It only means that that's a different form of me. So if you think in those terms and wake up every day like this, in this sort of state of mind, I guarantee you, 21 days is enough to change our perception in life. So I'll now go on the third point, which I was thinking is we all have our differences, we all have our dislikes about things. But the moment we believe in the power of abundance, and I'm just not using words for words, I'm actually asking people to feel that word. They can close their eyes to feel it during their breath. They can close their eyes to feel it in their heartbeat or maybe on their skin. But to feel abundant, even if you don't have a morsel of food at your home, or even if you don't have tap water, something to drink, even if you don't have the kind of money you would like to have to buy the next bungalow, maybe the next Ferrari, whatever you want to do with water, sorry, with money. But just feel that you have it, because you have it. It's just that you didn't touch
Right.
it. So if we
Right.
walk around with those kind of mindset, Umer, you know what? My next neighbor would be a happy neighbor. And if all happy neighbors around the world start becoming happy, we have a one global world in its own time global.
Absolutely, and I totally agree to this that mindset defines everything. How I look at myself is what's important because this world is full of negativity, and if you react to that, I'll share a little story, and then of course we'll move on because as much as I'm loving this conversation, we're running out of time as well. Like I look at it this way: the world is like boiling hot water, right? And there are three kind of people in this world. One are like the eggs, hard on the outside but soft in the inside, right? So when you
Right.
put that egg into boiling water, that is the world. That thing that was hard on the inside and soft in the hard on the outside and soft in the inside, it becomes hard on the inside. So when you're hard and this boiling water, that means this world, the negativity, the hate, and everything, the pressures, it changes you on the inside. It makes you harder. It's make your heart like a stone. The other person is like a carrot, hard on the outside, but as soon as they enter in the world, the boiling water, they turn soft, they become vulnerable. And then the third sort is like the coffee beans. When they enter the boiling water, they don't change, but they make the boiling water more meaningful. It changes the
Yeah.
scent, changes the taste. So it's up to the people what sort of personality they want to be. The egg, the carrot, or coffee beans. I would like to be the coffee bean any day. Make this world a better place. Give more meaning to life and to people around me. So, summarizing that little story, we always need to stay motivated. We always need to back each other up. Rather than pulling each other down, we need to support each other because life is short and we can make the best of it while we are together, spreading love and spreading affection.
Definitely, Umer. So very beautiful. Well said. In fact, that topic about boiling water, they say that if a person has to change for the better, and because water boils at 100 degrees and not 99 degrees, but the moment you keep heating water, it becomes 98, 96, 97, 98, 99. It is only that one extra degree Celsius that boils water. And I think everyone needs to find their 1 degree Celsius to make them change and transform, but for the better. And there you are, yes.
Right, absolutely. So always I say one thing, expect miracle, believe in yourself, stay positive, keep smiling, and accept the hardest of the challenge in life with open arms. Because when even if we look at our ECG, our heartbeat in the hospital, if it's flat, that means you're dead. So we need ups and downs in life to learn. We need ups and downs to stay alive. So I loved this conversation, and as much as I want this to go on, we're running out of time. Atish will definitely continue this session. It was lovely having you and discussing people, their behaviors, and how we can turn this world into a better place. Before we leave, I would like you to share your feelings and your one word for Greenwich family.
Right. First of all, I'll share my word for the Greenwich family. First, the Greenwich family, Greenwich University, you've been one of the kind that I will continue to support because I believe in your endeavors. Mr. Rubna was personally whom I know, he's working so hard to make this one with oneness, and I believe that Greenwich University is certainly doing a lot of things. I mean, really out of ordinary sometimes. I have been on your campus in Mauritius and I have seen things. I've seen your love for education, not just because you offer this service, but really this love for education, for what you do. and your endeavor for what you do for those children who want to actually have a better and brighter life. And thank you for what you're doing. Now, coming back to the show, Umer, I want to thank you for being such a nice host and someone who's so energetic from your voice itself. I would wish I would come one day next to the other show if the God bless. And I've enjoyed it. And my one last word about everything is contagious. Yes. If the world can find a virus to be contagious, well, so does a smile. There you are, Mir.
True. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Atish, for your time. We'll definitely have another session because we need to talk a lot about these things and spread awareness and make it relevant. Because if you keep talking about it, I think that's when you increase the sense of realization amongst people. So I wish you all the best. Stay safe, and we'll definitely get back together again sometime soon, inshallah. So, guys,
Thank you,
you
Mir.
heard
Thank you, Steve.
Mr. Absolutely. You're most welcome. So you heard Mr. Atish Bagola and the beautiful things he had to say. We discussed life. We discussed how people behave, why they behave like this, and how we can make this world a better place by just understanding each other and rather than reacting and acting, just stay and understand why things are happening the way they are. So we'll definitely be back tomorrow with another session, another topic. You can always leave your feedback in the comments, or if any topic you want us to talk about, please let us know. We'll be back tomorrow, inshallah, with another show, another guest. Until next time, stay safe, stay home, take care of yourself and your loved ones. Keep smiling, and Allah Hafiz.